Hey there, and welcome back to Reimagined Energy, the podcast where we explore the people, projects, and ideas reshaping how we power our world. In this episode, we're coming to you with fresh insights straight from Smart Energy Halifax 2025. A big thank you to the Smart Energy team for inviting us to take part. And it was a packed couple of days full of bold ideas, real talk, and big energy sector shifts. We want to give a great shout out to Hydrogen East for the warm welcome and thoughtful conversations throughout the event. It's clear that collaboration, community, and clean tech are driving real momentum and real hope for a more sustainable energy future. Here's what we heard, who we met, and why the future of energy in Canada is anything but business as usual. Hi, I'm here with Reese Newson of the Holland College.
Yep.
That's located in Charlottetown?
Charlottetown, PEI, all over PEI.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm here at the Smart Energy Conference. Here it's 2025. We're here at the Halifax Convention Center, and it's quite lively in here, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's there's a lot going on. It's great. It's exciting.
Yeah. And so you were just telling me you offer a lot of programs. You're getting ready for the energy transition.
Yes.
You have programs where you're working with the industry, and growing. I've had NSCC here on the podcast before, but, what are the opportunities, I guess we'll start. But also, there's some challenges, some hurdles that you're coming through. So first of all, tell me about the opportunities.
Sure. Okay. So the college is the local community college on PEI. So we do trades and a whole bunch of other support programs, stuff like that. So the program I'm part of is called Energy Systems Engineering Technology. It's a 2-year diploma program all about renewable energy and energy management focused on sustainability. So it is fairly broad in nature, but we cover a whole bunch of ground on a whole bunch of different topics all around energy, sustainability, being more efficient with our energy, and then, looking at the future and what we can do to improve that, whether it's in homes, businesses, and everything in between. So with renewables, we'll talk solar is our big one because that's when the big drive has been. We also have a wind program at the college. So if you're kind of into the wind stuff, you can go that route. But then we talk wind, hydro, bioenergy, energy storage, understanding how electrical grids work and how this all works together. And then on the energy management side, we look at things like HVAC systems, mechanical systems, understanding how they work, and then understanding where their energy goes and what we can do to improve them. And then we look at like building envelopes and building science and understanding how houses and buildings can be built better, built smarter, more energy efficient, and we can kind of target that end goal of net zero at the end of it.
So this is about a 1-year, 2-year program?
It's a 2-year program.
2-year program.
Yep.
So how many students do you have?
So currently we have 25 between the 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
We typically have around 12 per group, roughly. This is, I think, our 11th and 12th groups through or more. We've had almost 100 graduates over the lifespan of the program. And it's varied over the years. We started out more in that solar thermal realm, moved into solar PV, started out with more of a focus on small wind. Now we're moved more into that energy auditing management side and kind of everywhere in between. And we've got graduates doing everything from policy making in government to physical installs of solar equipment and design work, to engineering companies, and gone on to other training and stuff. And we've got everybody from straight out of high school with like no real experience in the field to people that are engineers and coming from other countries and are doing a new career or a third career or and starting from scratch and changing things up. So
you're evolving, you're constantly moving on. So what does the future look like?
Well, so overall, I feel that our path, our program, our industry, even though it is very broad in our program, the industry is growing like crazy.
Yeah,
We've seen massive growth in the last 5 or 10 years in solar. We've seen massive growth in energy management. And we're realizing that sometimes just new equipment's not the best way. Building better houses, building smarter, that's all part of that too. Unfortunately, though, for us, for our program, the future's not looking great because they've made the decision that they're going to suspend our program.
Who's they?
The college has decided that they're going to suspend our program starting next year. So we're not taking any new first-year students in. Okay. We're going to finish out our current first-year students in their second year.
We're going to graduate them.
And we're going to graduate them, and then that's it.
So that's it. Because you have an industry that's growing so rapidly, and industry's trying to keep up and prepare for the future. So this doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I have to be cautious what I say, but yes, it's a struggle.
Really,
we are too. We suspected, we know that there's changes happening with international students, and we have over even the last 3 or 4 years, we've gone from being about 20% international to almost 80% international. Okay. So we knew that there could be some changes coming with that because of, reduction in the number of students in total. The other challenge is that programs have been assigned what they call a SIP code, which is basically tied to then if you're in an in-demand industry, you can get a post-grad work permit. We didn't get one of the codes that gets a permit. So our code, an international student, even if they got a permit to come here, which that number's been severely reduced, they aren't going to be able to stay here and work when they're done. They're going to have to go back home, which we've had students do that in the past to bring the knowledge they've gained here home. But more and more and more of them are staying here and trying and working in our industry and growing our industry locally. But unfortunately, with our program, that's going to make a bit of a difference in that.
Yeah, and your program is probably funded federally,
provincially, largely, as well as international students pay higher fees and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
It's between $6,000 and $10,000 depending on what type of student you are per year, and then the college gets quite a bit of funding from the provincial government. Unfortunately, part of their reasoning for this is the amount they're getting from the government has gone down this year, unfortunately.
Right.
So the result is that with financial stress, international student numbers reduction, not being eligible for postgrad work permits, and then they're saying that, with job prospects being challenged, so with the solar rebate at home on pause, with the solar rebate here in Nova Scotia being basically canceled, the elimination of the Greener Homes grant last year, the industry has taken a pretty substantial hit, and it's our traditional paths have been impacted by that. But as the program, we've been working on new paths and new ways and new areas where our students could go, as well as working on options for upgrading. So people, for myself, I graduated the program, went into the trades. There's a great tie together with the trades and a program like ours, because then you can not only understand how all the systems work together, you can apply it because you have the red seal or you have the accreditation to be able to do that. We've been working on avenues that way. We've been working on avenues with local recruitment. We've been working on growing the program that way with a bunch of new staff too. And now we're kind of just hit a pause on all of that.
Hit a pause, bit of a setback.
Yep.
I'm hopeful for the future because, it's, as we're speaking now, there's an election, in Canada, hoping that, perhaps there might be some redirect,
And on top of that, so when the federal election happens, we also just recently had a change in leadership at home with our premier step down and a new replacement. So we're expecting that there's likely going to be a provincial election as well, which that's again going to impact the local programs as well as, job prospects and stuff like that with that. So there's a lot of change coming. We're hopeful that that change will be positive for us. We're disappointed and sort of frustrated that, we're seeing growth as an industry as a whole, but because of a few changes locally, now we're feeling the impacts of that. We understand why some of the decisions were made, but it just feels like there's more can be done. And we feel that the knowledge that we have and provide, not only is it going to take a hit if it gets paused because the industry moves so fast, but it's also going to take a hit to the staffing that we have available. It's going to take a hit to the space and the resources that we have available to the program. The reality is we're concerned of whether we can ever catch up. Are you
finding this to be a bit of a trend that could be happening across Canada and other colleges?
We found out Friday, and it's now Tuesday, so we're still kind of reeling from the decision.
Yeah, recovering.
Overall, I'm seeing growth in other places, though. Like I know NSCC's recently modeled a wind program off of the colleges, and I'm hearing that they're looking at solar as well and expanding other programs. So, that to me makes me hopeful that there is growth in the industry.
Yes.
We've recently, the college, in a partnership with UPEI, has developed the Clean Tech Academy, which is sort of, we equate it to that we're about the technical, they're about the business side of clean technology and stuff like that. They also have a master's program at UPEI. So there's growth there happening. Mm-hmm. And then, like I say, we're seeing demand in the program as we adapt and modernize the program. We're seeing more and more and more prospects there. But unfortunately, we're not really getting a chance to test that now with this change.
Well, I'm always optimistic, and I'm thinking when one door closes, another one opens.
That's the hope.
And I'm really hoping that happens to you, Reese. Thanks for stopping by and saying hello to me today.
We appreciate you chatting with us.
So tell me which company you're with and where you're from.
So I'm Jean-François Lefebvre. I'm the CEO with Concertec LM Group Company. We're based out of Terrebonne, Quebec, and we are a specialized company in meteorological towers for the renewable industry. And we're here today in Halifax at the Smart Energy Convention.
Great to have you here. So what are going to be your key takeaways from today, other than networking and talking to tons of people?
Yeah, well, we've been in the industry for over a decade, so we got lots of friends, a lot of acquaintances, and it's always a good opportunity for us to meet again with our customers, our friends, and also to learn about the new trends of the industry, where the business is going, where the markets are going, and also to follow the industry within its growth.
Well, following the industry and the growth, I mean, there's lots taking place here in Atlantic Canada, and in Nova Scotia. So tell us a little bit about what you know about, the growth and the opportunities.
Well, we've been busy for the last almost 3 years now, right after COVID, actually with Newfoundland, with green ammonia. So we work with GH2 in the Port-au-Port area, Stephenville, and we also work at the Argentia station for pattern development. And we're also very busy right now in New Brunswick. We've worked already with GDI at the Juniper Future Wind Farm a couple of years back, putting the Met towers up there. And we're currently busy, extremely busy actually, in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick with other customers such as SWEB and their Higgins Mountain Future Wind Farm construction. So we're doing assessment towers, we're doing data collection for environmentals and wind, and very active. So the customers are keeping us very busy. And we tend to follow the market across the country. So we're moving out of Atlantic probably in a year and a half from now, and we'll be moving up to probably Northern Ontario and BC.
That's great. Well, tell me about your data collection and how that all takes place, and what's good data, what's bad data.
Well, the bank wants good data, obviously, because they want to finance the project. Right. So bankable data is key, and they have to measure that data to hub height. So when they pre-construction or pre-engineer the wind farms, they determine a turbine model and hub height for X amount of gigawatt of capacity production. So those towers will be standing for minimum a year, most of the time 2 to 3 years, collecting data at hub height and various height elevation for wind speed, wind direction, humidity, temperatures, in some cases ice and rain, and everything related to environmental, which allows the design team to be able to forecast the output production of the wind turbines under production.
I never knew this, but you're telling me that each wind turbine has a different height based on the best wind at different wind heights?
Yeah, because of topography. So you have different models of wind turbine, different blade lengths, different output capacity of the turbines.
Right.
So that's all chosen according to the position and the topography of the land. And to be able to choose those turbines model correctly, they need data assessment for multiple years. So that way we put the towers in, they collect all the data, they analyze those data. We don't do analysis, but we provide the communication devices and the instruments on the towers, and they collect data until they're convinced that, okay, this is good, this is what we need, and they move forward with the project.
That's amazing. Well, I was today years old when I found that out. So what are you hoping to get out of today's, you're here at Smart Energy. You've got the networking that's down. You're talking to me. There are some really other good sessions talking about wind, offshore wind. There's very much big focus on that. But there's also the focus on onshore wind. And it's great that you see you're working with a lot of partnerships here.
Yeah, it is great. The Atlantic region is really booming. There's a bunch of great people here, a bunch of great contractors to work with, partners, and great customers for the entire industry. So it's a must. It's a must. It is one of the right now most booming areas of the country. Quebec is doing good. Ontario is going to come up online a couple of months from now, maybe a year from now. BC is coming out of the gate strong. But right now, this is where it's happening. Atlantic, Canada.
That's great. Well, it's great to have you here and enjoy the rest of the conference. And thanks for stopping by and chatting with me.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a great session. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Charles Julian. Thank
Hi
you for joining me today. We're here at the Smart Energy Conference. And tell me a little bit more about why you're here and also what Adler Electric is all about.
So Adler is a fuse company. That's all we do.
Fuses.
Exactly. Electrical fuses for photovoltaic, for electric vehicles, and utility grade fuses. That's all we do, the fuses and the fuse holders.
Right. So what are you hoping to get out of today and tomorrow of the conference?
Well, I arrived actually yesterday, and today's my second day at the conference, and it's all about networking. It's all about finding people who need fuses. And you've got fuses in everything. A typical electric vehicle has 35 different fuses, and we're here to help.
Where do you find the industry that has the most, where is it growing the most?
It's growing the most in the solar area.
Really?
So we have a lot of customers who do things like combiner boxes and similar types of things. There's also a lot of demand in the EV area.
Yes.
And we're seeing that grow not only for vehicles, but also for trucks, for buses, for the infrastructure. So your charging stations.
Right. So what do the actual fuses do? It's not like energy storage. It's not like it's the conduit. Would you say it's the...
Right. So a fuse is a little tiny device. Sometimes they're as tiny as your thumb. Sometimes they're as big as a car battery, but they all pretty much serve the same function. And that is, it's a one-off device to interrupt the electrical flow if something bad happens, an overcurrent or something similar.
Yeah, you balance things out, the inconsistencies.
Right. Well, if it's something that will destroy a very expensive piece of equipment, the fuse serves to break the current so that that your more expensive device doesn't get hurt.
The solar industry. So when you say that there's a lot of growth there in that, are there different regions than in Canada that you're finding the growth?
Well, we're just starting out in Canada, actually. We do a lot of business for combiner boxes for inverters in the U.S., and we're hoping to expand that to Canada. People think of solar energy as something that is only applicable in markets that have a lot of sun. That's a fallacy. That's no longer the case.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the technology is getting better and better all the time. Do you actually design the fuses?
We do. We design and manufacture them. Our manufacturing is at 3 sites in China and 1 site in Singapore.
Right. So everyone's asking about tariffs and everyone's asking about, what will that look like for you? Are you prepared?
Right. For Canada, it's kind of irrelevant because we ship directly to the user from the Far East. For the U.S., we have different mitigation strategies. So we will be shipping from Singapore. We have inventory pre-Donald Trump already in the U.S. So it's not...
Good.
It's an issue, but it's not keeping us up at night.
You can work around it. Right. That's good to hear. Switching topics is also, explain to me about the process of making your fuses. Like what goes into that?
It's really pretty simple on, let's say superficially. A fuse has a couple of caps on the end. It has a sheath, which is made out of ceramic or glass typically, and you have sand in the middle. The one part I didn't describe is the filament.
Okay.
And that is that which blows when the bad things happen in terms of the current. Okay. And the filament burns through and stops the current so that you're protecting whatever the device is.
Right. You're not frying, the devices. Right. That's sometimes a common name. Well, that is great. So you're here in Atlantic Canada. You're meeting lots of people. The Smart Energy Conference is a great place to do that. There's a lot of talk here about wind technology. Do you have any work to do in that area?
No. At the moment, we're not involved in it, although we do know that wind energy, like so many other forms of energy, they also use fuses.
So tell me, where are you located? I'm
located in Germany, so we're very close to Leipzig. And as I mentioned, our manufacturing comes out of the Far East. Our field application engineers are located in Germany, and we're in the process of setting up a subsidiary in the U.S.
Right. So what do the next, let's say, 5 years look like for your company? If you were to go forward, what does that look like?
We see the need and the demand for renewable energy exploding. We're all kind of distracted by the geopolitical things happening at the moment, but those are short-term bumps in the road. Solar is taking over the electric vehicle market. I had a discussion with someone this morning who said, well, who knows in what direction that's going? Well, as we say in German, that mass has already been sung. That's taken care of. Our Chinese friends have made the determination that electric vehicles will be the future, and we're here to help with that. BYD made an announcement a couple of days ago that they now have vehicles that they're introducing to the market that get rid of the subject of range anxiety. So within 5 minutes, you can charge your EV and go an additional 1,000.
I read that. That's amazing. I mean, that technology is there. And they're even testing, I've had on a previous podcast, how wireless charging as well, which is astonishing. But I heard about the 5-minute charging piece. Wow. That'll be a game changer. And of course, Canada, we always look forward to Europe and of course now China, for inspiration. And you guys are way ahead of where we want to be.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for joining me today, and
thanks for having me.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
You too. Thanks so much. Take care.
So you're Gail Armour. You're with Summerhill. You're here at the Smart Energy Conference here in Halifax. Tell me, how's it all going for you today?
It's a great conference. Lots of interesting speakers today. I've learned so much about a range of different topics.
It's a great place to network. There is a range of topics. I mean, there's lots of sessions on basically everything, regarding renewable energy. Tell me a little bit about your company or your organization, Summerhill.
Yeah, so I work with Summerhill Group. So we're an energy efficiency service organization. We go coast to coast. We have projects, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, all across Atlantic Canada, and then all the way across to sea. So we have a wide offering. Yeah. And then our service offerings include anything from retail programs to direct install programs, and call center concierge. So it's a really broad range of different services within the energy efficiency sphere and across Canada.
So tell me, if I was a client and I was working with you guys, what sort of things would I expect? What could I get?
So we can offer, like I said, a range of different services and offer it turnkey. We really pride ourselves in being a nimble organization that can adjust quickly to the needs. And another big focus is our local approach. So we're Canadian based, and we really want to get to know the communities that we serve, and make sure that it's tailored to the residents.
And you're located here in Halifax?
No, we're based out of Toronto, but we have the offices across Canada, based out of the Halifax office.
No, you're here. Yeah. No, that's great. Because there's a lot of talk about energy efficiency, and so do you educate your clients probably at the same time that you're delivering your programs and services?
Yeah. So we do, a mix of program delivery, but we also offer for a lot of our programs education for residential consumers. So like if we're doing for example, a direct install program, while we're delivering the direct install of installing energy efficiency measures, we'll also be educating the homeowner on energy efficiency.
That's cool. So what does the next year look like for Summerhill? Are you going down the same path? Are you seeing some industries popping up? That kind of thing. Where are the opportunities?
Yeah.
A lot of questions there. Right?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Next
Continuing
year,
on.
Are you seeing any trends right now with your clients? I mean, some are needing more of this than that? Are you seeing anything?
It's hard to say. Yeah. There's a lot more retail-based programs than there was a few years ago. Yep. Demand response is becoming a lot more, more of a need for our clients.
What about energy storage? Is that one? Not really?
Not really something we do a lot with, but
just thought I'd throw that out there because some of that is coming up in some conversations here about energy storage and definitely wind energy and so on. But I really appreciate you stopping by and saying hello. And so we'll keep in touch with Summerhill and all the great things you guys are offering in energy efficiency.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi, Sachin.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. So you're Sachin Gunaratna.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's
and which organization are you from?
I'm with the Canada Infrastructure Bank.
So tell me about your organization briefly. And I know we're here at the Smart Energy event. You just did a session, I believe. Your organization did. So tell everyone about what you guys are.
Sure. So the Canada Infrastructure Bank is a federal crown corporation, and we're an impact investor. So I'm going to focus my comments on the clean energy sector, which is one of 5 sectors that we invest in. But in the clean energy sector, we invest to achieve outcomes for Canadians. Primarily, the outcome we're looking for is GHG reduction by investing in clean electricity generation, transmission, and storage. So we are here at the Smart Energy Conference, talk about what we do and how we do it. So I mentioned we are an impact investor looking for GHG reduction through our investment. We also invest to reduce or eliminate a gap that exists. The gap is one of a affordability gap or a risk gap. So if a transaction can't happen because it's not affordable, we will invest so that the project will go ahead today and faster than it could without us. Or we'll invest to take risk along with the private sector in order to make a project happen. We also help Indigenous communities own a clean electricity infrastructure across the country by providing these communities with access to capital that they can invest. And we're in Nova Scotia because over the past 2 years, we have invested in 6 wind projects that are under construction. We have invested in 3 batteries in Nova Scotia, and we have recently invested in the intertie with New Brunswick. All of those projects feature Indigenous owners as well. And that's just the beginning because we are part of the Green Choice program where the winning projects have all elected to use our investment to build the projects.
Wonderful. So when you mention battery, what does battery?
Large scale batteries that are used to store power.
Okay.
So wind is a very strong resource here in Nova Scotia.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's windy.
It's windy here.
And so there's a great onshore resource and an offshore resource. The problem with wind is the wind doesn't always blow when you need the power.
Exactly.
So what batteries do is to store that energy that the wind turbines produce for times when people need the electricity, but the wind is not blowing, or the wind is still blowing, but more people are using electricity, for example, at the start of the day when everybody wakes up and turns on their coffee maker, or when you come home and you turn on your stove, the peak load increases. And so sometimes you may need the batteries to provide electricity. And stabilize the grid as well.
Definitely. So if I was a business owner, a commercial owner, how would you help them out? Would you help them out indirectly or indirect?
So how we help is through our investment, which helps reduce the cost of these projects.
Okay.
When we reduce the cost of these projects, it directly impacts the ratepayers. So business owners and homeowners who pay electricity bills, their bills will be lower as a result of us investing and providing low-cost patient capital. Because if we weren't here, there would be a spike in the bill. Here, I'm not here to say we're going to eliminate any spikes, but we will smooth it out and make it more affordable. And for example, on the intertie that we just announced recently, our investment reduces the net present value of that project by $200 million. And that flows directly to the ratepayers of Nova Scotia.
Pretty nice. You're here at the Smart Energy Conference. How are you finding it so far?
Excellent. It is well attended. More people here today than last year. And last year was extremely busy.
Yeah.
So we're here. We have a new venue. So I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces. I'm seeing a lot of new faces. And it's a chance for us to talk to investors, talk to borrowers, talk to government, and talk to Indigenous communities and partners to advance their projects.
Correct. And I love the optimism in the room too. The energy is very, very great.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's driven also by what's happening in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
They are clearly, they have taken a stance to invest now, and there's clearly the most investment in the number of projects. I mean, not in dollar terms, but in the number of projects. The most activity happening in this sector over the last couple of years has been in Nova Scotia.
In Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
So you're finding it, so in terms of Atlantic Canada, Western Canada, Mid-Cam, we're kind of doing really well here.
You are doing great. Yeah.
It's good to hear. Well, thank you, a session for popping by today.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, we'll talk to you again in the future.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.
So I'm here with Connor Green of Blue Grid, and you guys are about vessel to grid technology. So tell everyone a little bit about what that is.
Absolutely, yeah. So we at Blue Grid, we're a software and data company at our core. We believe in supporting the full marine electrification ecosystem, from boat builders to boat owners to the propulsion system OEMs, all the way up to the utility and the port operators in the journey through marine electrification. So we do that through our data, collecting data on existing vessels, whether it be diesel or gasoline, and understanding the operational profile, which allows us to then right-size systems, whether it be batteries for new electric boats, batteries for hybrid electric boats, which allows it to trickle upstream into charging infrastructure, making sure we know what chargers are going to support their needs and how the grid plays its part, making sure it has the correct needs for the site, the customer, for everyone to be happy and have a good experience there.
So your East Coast, that's your origin, I guess, here. So East Coast is definitely the fisheries. But can you also do, so that's saltwater. There's also the freshwater component as well. Are you moving inland, or are you just really doing most of your testing on saltwater?
Yeah, sure. We're agnostic to vessel type. For the most part, what we're focusing on locally is the commercial fishing fleet, where it does make up such a large percentage of the vessels in the province. We have looked at leisure vessels as well, but a lot of the opportunities for early adopters we're seeing is in that commercial fleet fishing size. Yeah. A lot of those being inshore vessels that do their operations within a single day. Are great electrification candidates. So great.
Give us a little bit of a case study with, I know that you're doing a lot of work with the indigenous communities with their fleets, which I know where they can power, but they also have battery storage as well, and they can feed. So I'm jumbling it all up. You do
for sure. And it's a good point. Yeah, we are working with a few different indigenous groups. We just finished a project up with Member 2 First Nations, who in the next year or two are planning on having the first fully electric commercial lobster fishing vessel. And part of that project is going to be vessel to grid, which our software enables. And so, if you think about the fishing season in Nova Scotia, these vessels operate for 3 to 4 months fishing lobster. And then in the off season, they sit on shore idle. And when you think about an electric vessel and having all that battery capacity, there's a really good opportunity in the off season, especially in the winter, when you think that's where our grid is at its most stressed, for those batteries on the vessel to be utilized for grid services.
Makes perfect sense.
Our software and bidirectional charging technology enables these vessels to transfer power back to the grid and times of need.
Yeah, definitely. If there's a power outage and so on. So what does the next year look like for you guys?
Yeah, so we're going to be continuing to hit the ecosystem pretty hard, trying to help more people electrify sooner, trying to bring the overall cost of electrification down through that right sizing approach. So ultimately, to realize the benefits of something like vessel to grid, we need to see as many folks get into electric vessels on the water as possible.
It's the early adopters. It's just like the EV world. You have people who are, what is that? They creates curiosity, and then they see the energy savings, and then it's definitely word of mouth.
Yeah, exactly. So we're trying to help everybody, whether it's a boat builder sell more boats, if it's a customer clear some barriers or learn a little bit more about what they need to do to get there. I want to see as many electric boats as we can.
So how are you finding the conference, Smart Energy?
Yeah, the conference has been great. Had lots of conversations. It's
You've been busy.
It's been a good conference for us. It differs a little bit from some of the boat and marine focused conferences that we're at, and is more on the infrastructure side, which, as a vessel to grid company and a data company that informs infrastructure, this is a great conference to talk to folks on the infrastructure side. Lots of folks from utility, lots of folks doing infrastructure projects, and so making sure we stay up to date and in touch with all those people.
That's great, Connor. I don't want to keep you away from your booth, but thanks for stopping by, and we'll have you back. I want to have a longer conversation with you in the future.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much.
Hi there. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate taking the time to talk today about clean energy.
I know. Well, I'm here with Mark Sidebottom of Nova Scotia Power, and you were a part of a session here at the Smart Energy Conference. Tell us a little bit about what that was about.
Well, it was talking about partnerships and collaboration in the clean energy infrastructure that we actually need to advance as we look towards our future. So we have a lot of energy needs in the future. We want it to be cleaner. And obviously, we are looking to have opportunities for investment for our First Nations partners. And how do you make it affordable in this transition? Because there's so much to do. So very interesting and exciting conversation today.
I bet. So what does the next year look like for you guys in terms of getting ready? That's one question, but the other one is you work with a lot of Indigenous groups in the province here?
Well, we actually have 2 projects right now that include all 13 communities in Nova Scotia. And so with the battery energy projects, which are 3 across the province, all 13 First Nations are participating in an equity forum in that. And what's really interesting is how the First Nations have come together under the WMA. And so what that has allowed us to do is have a single point of contact that can represent all 13 communities and build a meaningful investment for those communities. So both the battery project and the transmission project, the reliability project between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, include those equity investments.
You had mentioned the New Brunswick and Nova Scotia transmission, the grid.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, it's really strengthening the connection, the bulk power electrical connection between us and New Brunswick. Nova Scotia has generally been energy independent through the years and has been strengthening its connections to other provinces, the first being the Maritime Link.
Right.
And now concentrating on our other connection to our neighbor to our north, which is New Brunswick. And this will create a more reliable system that can take a lot more wind energy. So in Nova Scotia, there's over 1,000 megawatts of new wind going to be introduced in the next several years.
It's exciting times.
It's very exciting. And we need to make sure that the grid is resilient and can actually handle that. So this is really, my analogy is you're going from a single lane road to a kind of a dual Trans-Canada type transmission system, which can handle so much more electricity.
You know, when you talk about that, does it mean that the power lines, do they need to be swapped out for, the actual cables themselves need to be swapped out throughout?
So actually what it means is we're going to run a second power line right next to the current one.
Okay.
So there is a power line that runs basically between Truro and just past Moncton in Salisbury, and it runs at 345,000 volts. And we are going to put a second line right next to it, effectively doubling the capacity.
Wow.
And it also creates a redundancy. So if today that current transmission line trips off for any reason, weather, there's not a lot of a connection between us and New Brunswick. So it's relatively susceptible to those conditions. You put a second line next to it. And by the way, this current design has been designed for a much more robust climate, higher winds, more ice loading, so that it won't be as susceptible to storms as the others. So
they're getting more and more intense all the time.
They are. The number of hours that the wind blows over 80 kilometers in Nova Scotia has gone up tremendously in the last 15 years. And we need to make sure that whatever infrastructure is built, that we can withstand that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Mark, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today, and enjoy the rest of the conference. I know you have to scoot off. You're a very busy guy. Thanks for sitting down with me. That's a wrap from Smart Energy Halifax 2025. A huge thanks again to Hydrogen East and the Smart Energy team for having us, and to everyone who took the time to share their stories and insights with me. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow Reimagined Energy wherever you listen. We've got more conversations coming your way with the innovators shaping Canada's clean energy future. Catch you next time. I'm Maria McGowan.